figuring out how to use AI for content entry.
Love
Never
it.
again manual.
That's where my mind went. Great answer.
That is my favorite, just personal
right.
connection story,
small
right?
world.
From American Eagle, which is funny to see.
Yeah.
To see a small world.
It's
like
way
that.
too small. It's so funny.
We endearingly call James the Wizard.
I'm
'cause,
shocked to learn that.
Yeah, that was a new one for
I was
Joe
able
too.
to fake it really well.
Yeah.
You played it off really well.
Yes.
Fooled me.
You know, all of the working pieces, whether it's the PM team or the architects or the developers or the live site team, it all coincides with each other to make us as strong as we are. So truly thank you both. Welcome and thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Sitecore Water Cooler, the casual conversation podcast dedicated to covering all things related to Sitecore, including product updates, implementation insights, getting the most out of your Sitecore investment, and more. I'm your co-host today, Maggie Burke, Sitecore Operations Director and Sitecore MVP at AmericanEagle.com. The Big 5-0, 50 episodes of the Sitecore Water Cooler, and what a journey it has been. This podcast started out as a way to outreach to the community and has turned into an outlet to discuss all of the latest and greatest aspects of Sitecore, from product rollouts to project highlights. We've been very fortunate to have various groups from our own team all the way through Sitecore's product teams and executive leadership on this podcast, and it has been an exciting thing to see this podcast grow. On today's special episode, we will be meeting with multiple members from our Sitecore department, including the project teams, live site teams, and some of our architects to hear about their journeys in the Sitecore space and what they look forward to on the path ahead. To everyone tuning in today, welcome to the Water Cooler. All right. So I guess before we're going to bring in the rest of the team members, we're going to start things off with a true co-hosting episode with John Price, our VP of our Sitecore practice. Him and I have been on episodes together in the past, some where you're hosting and I'm a guest, and then vice versa, where I was hosting and you're a guest. But now we are actually doing a true co-hosting episode. And it's funny because I feel like everyone calls you Jonathan that doesn't know you. And then I'm always asked like, oh, should I be calling him John, JP, Jonathan? I've always called you John, so we're going to stick with that. But welcome. Thanks for joining us for today.
Absolutely. It's long overdue to co-host with you. Super excited about today's episode. It's insane to believe this is episode 50, especially when we started and where we've come from. And super excited for today.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like we also even had to talk beforehand. We're like, who's going to do the intro, right? You know, it's like we have our kind of gated intro and it's like, do we just switch off every other word? How are we going to figure this out? So I'm glad we narrowed down on that. But I think before we bring in the rest of the team, I wanted to talk through just kind of our journeys in the Sitecore department. So John, can you start out with talking about just how long ago did you start at American Eagle? You were kind of one of the first people to pilot out our Sitecore practice. So, can you tell us a little bit about your journey in this department?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started at American Eagle about 12 years ago, August of, about 2013. It's hard to believe it's been that long.
Math is hard.
Yeah. I actually came to American Eagle with very limited digital experience. My background was in, I'll say, sports and marketing. I was a previous assistant golf professional. And, I got brought in from a friend of a friend, limited experience. And I was actually our first official project manager on our Sitecore team. So my 12-year journey started in more of the project management operational space. Got attuned to, running Sitecore projects back then through blood, sweat, and tears, learned a ton very quickly. And about 2017, I took over a Sitecore practice officially. It's hard to believe that's been 8 years as well. And it's been a flash. It's been a wonderful journey. We have an incredible team. We have wonderful customers. And I'm very blessed to be here. I wouldn't exchange this career for the world. It's been a great ride, and Sitecore has been a phenomenal partner. And just the amount that I've personally learned and have learned from our team members is invaluable. So
100%.
Yeah, Maggie, please, give a little background on your journey. It's hard to believe that you're coming up, or maybe even have surpassed nearly a decade at this point. I remember interviewing you for a very specific role, and times have changed.
Yeah, they definitely have. Yeah, I'm in my 8th year with the company now, which definitely seems wild to think about. And it's funny because when I first started here, my title was web content coordinator, which was a fancier way of just saying that I did a lot of data entry.
You were really good at data entry.
I mean,
so
you know what? I put it on my business card all the time. So it's one of those things, though, that I feel like I learned so much because of that. My first day at AmericanEagle.com, I was hitting the ground running with content entry and Sitecore. And now that's part of just my day-to-day job from working on that platform now. So it's pretty cool to think about. I started out doing that, and then quickly moved into kind of the project management side of the house, and ran a lot of things from upgrades, different implementations, all the way to full scale redesigns and whatnot. And now I'm our operations director and helping to kind of oversee our different teams, whether it's on the project side, the client and account side of the house and things. So it is really cool to kind of think about like the growth period here, and to kind of your point of working with all the various members from our team. You just learn so much from everybody. And I think one of the resounding things that I hear a lot from when we meet with people externally is just the tenure in our department alone. I mean, we have so many people that have been here for 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 plus years. And I think that's a testament to not only this company, but also to our department and how we've grown together. I make jabs at you a lot, John, but
well deserved, I'm
you're
sure.
you're our fearless leader, and you've definitely given us all a lot of opportunity to learn and grow in this space. And there's so many exciting things ahead with Sitecore that it's just fun to kind of keep seeing that stuff moving and being involved in so much more. So yeah.
Yeah, no, you've done a phenomenal job over those 8 years. To think, 12 years ago, we've grown 10x in our Sitecore practice. It's now the largest business sector in our business, and that's a huge sentiment to you and the rest of the team members. And it's wild to believe there's a handful of us on the team that have worked together for over 12 years or nearly 12 years, which we'll have some of those guests on today. But a great testament to everyone. It's been phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, that's kind of why we're bringing in people. And we have over 100 people in our department. So it was hard to narrow down who we'd kind of have on talking through just some of the highlights throughout our practice. But before we kind of get into that side of the house, wanted to know a little bit more about the podcast, because this is our 50th episode. How did the idea of the podcast even start? Can you tell us a little bit about that, John?
Sure. Yeah. So back in 2021, American Eagle started getting into podcasting for numerous reasons. And Julia Klepich and Renee Nelson brought an idea to me like, hey, what if we did like a Sitecore podcast? And they even came up, I think Julia came up with the name specifically, Sitecore Water Cooler. I'm like, love the idea. And, one of the original intentions behind it is a lot of people do blogging. A lot of people do presentations. We wanted to do something that we could share knowledge, information, success stories, war stories that anyone could access at any time, whether they're listening to it in their car, whether they're working out, whether they're just watching it on YouTube at work. So the idea came around like, hey, let's deliver this content at pretty much anywhere that they can access it. And instead of just having to read a blog or having to go to a user group, which are all great things, don't get me wrong, but this is just a way that you can scale and listen to it kind of on demand. And, just to give you some quick stats, we pulled some stats before here. So we officially started the podcast summer of 2021, actually pre my twins. My twins are closing up on 4 years. Wow. We started this just before they were born in the summer of 21. And we're closing in on 20,000 total listens and views, and nearing 200 consistent followers and listeners. So super exciting. We've got a lot of really good feedback. The one really thing that we're proud of, that everyone that's participated on this podcast is, Sitecore even uses it as their onboarding tool for some of their new employees. So sometimes when I first meet an executive at Sitecore or a new seller, they'll come up to me like, hey, I listened to your podcast, you and Maggie. Like, I learned a lot just from listening to you guys. So that's kind of cool, right? So it's good to see we're making an impact, getting good feedback from our customers, even some of the prospects, I'll call them, that we're talking that we've never really met before. A lot of people have referred back to this. So glad to see the reach has been great. Good success story, Maggie. You've done a phenomenal job, carrying it the rest of the way here the past couple of years. So great contributions there.
Yeah, I think it's a nice parallel, because I feel like when it started out, it was a lot of kind of the tours of different products and things like that. And you really kind of took the ground running with kind of bringing the product teams and things on here, right? And then we let it grow into, okay, let's start talking about things that we're learning from implementation. So I feel like it's a good mix, because I usually do the ones where it's our project teams and things like that. And then you kind of take the leg with the ones that are more of like, hey, here's new enhancements to these products and things like that. And it's always been a good mix for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Sitecore themselves have been phenomenal. Our customers that have come on have been phenomenal, but it's good to see the participation, and looking forward to kind of continually grow as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing too, back to your point about, you can do blogs and user groups and things like that. But the one thing that I think is actually cool about the podcast, it allows for candid conversation, right? Like a lot of the kind of things that maybe you're not necessarily thinking about, or you're kind of talking offhand, like certain aspects of outreach in the community, while they are fantastic and blogs and things are always going to be there, they're definitely more catered. The content of is tailored. I feel like with these podcasts, it's kind of fun because you get more candid conversations back and forth. You really get to kind of hear insight, whether it is the product team or the project team or anything of that matter. So yeah, no, it's been a great journey with this podcast, and it's exciting to kind of see things grow. Going back to some of those kind of candid conversations and things like that, we definitely want to start bringing in some of our own team members. Like I said, it's a mix of people that have been here for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years plus. So I think we're going to bring in Dan Knobloch and Ellen Kirsch from our project management teams to really kind of talk through about their journeys in the Sitecore department, just from a management perspective as well. So we'll be bringing those guys in. All right. So now we're actually joined by some of the project management team. I think it's cool because we talked about my journey and John's journey kind of starting out. And now we were both project managers, and getting to bring in the project management team and talk a little bit about just your journeys in the Sitecore department, hearing a little bit more about kind of where you guys started out. So Dan, I want to start with you. How long have you been with the company? You've been in the Sitecore department the entire time. So can you give us a little bit of intake on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Dan Knobloch, I've been with the company for 5 going on 6 years now, and started off, I think my role was technically Scrum Master, but have always been in the realm of project management. It's kind of morphed more into project management, overseeing all the full gambit of services that we offer here at American Eagle.
No, that's great. And I feel like, I even remember your first day and stuff, Dan. So Ellen, how about you? Like, how long have you been with the company? Kind of where did you start out?
Yeah, similar experience. I started in Sitecore as well. I've been with the company almost 3 years now, but stayed in the Sitecore project management space as well. Love it. Can't leave it.
Can't leave it. Yeah, you're not allowed to leave it. Neither of you are. No, that's great. And I feel like, Ellen, you even started out doing some internship stuff here too. So that's like really cool to kind of see your journey. I was even at one point, I think my own role was listed as a miscellaneous intern, and I feel like John did that to me on purpose, but
Absolutely.
who knows? Yeah.
That's stayed in the internet for what?
That's why
10
she gives me
years?
such a hard time.
Yeah. I was like,
It's
people
all
don't
payback.
forget. People don't
Yeah,
forget.
right.
So
She holds grudges. Be careful. over there.
yeah, I really do. But no, that's awesome. And I think you guys have both been just huge assets to our department in terms of the projects that we have, because again, these are enterprise clients, complex projects, and you guys have been kind of, leading the charge in terms of getting all the teams and herding all the cats, if you will. Dan, can you tell me a little bit about maybe a favorite memory that you have, whether it was on a Sitecore project or even just something that you kind of co-collaborated on with like dev team members or something like that? Like any specific kind of favorite memory or highlight that you have?
Yeah, I don't know if favorite memory, but one that lasts with me is definitely, in past life or in past jobs has been more of a 9 to 5, I would say, and transitioning to more of the world that we live in. It's 24/7, 365 at times.
Internet does not sleep.
It does not, nor does it stop for company holiday parties. And I recall one project of mine where we had a deadline and things needed to go live, and that go live happened to be the night of our company's holiday party.
So singing Christmas tunes, and then you're like, oh no, we've got a deployment now. Gotta run.
That's
But
right.
we wouldn't do it if we didn't love it.
That's true.
Absolutely.
That is true. We all find ways to make it work. No, that's funny. I feel like, yeah, they do always kind of tend to come up at opportune times, whether it's, a company party. Sometimes it's when you're on vacation or things like that. But, we make it work and stuff. And it's always exciting times. Ellen, how about you? Any favorite highlights, memories, anything that just kind of comes to mind?
Yeah, probably from my most recent launch, actually. I'm very much a puzzle person. So anytime there's an opportunity to just work with a lot of data or figure out how to put all the pieces together to get the best experience is fun for me. So on our last one, we did a big doctor search with Sitecore search. It was cool to see how flexible the product is and that we could accomplish everything that we kind of thought up on the spot. So it was a lot of working with how to transform their data and to making sure it meets regulatory requirements, customer needs, their customer service needs, web best practices. So kind of putting all the pieces together for that was really fun.
Very cool. And you have an engineering background, don't you?
Yeah. So does Dan, actually.
Hey, we got two engineers who ended
same
up
degree. Here we are.
That's wild. Wow, what a small world on that front. But you heard it here first, folks, that engineering leads to project management, especially in the IT and tech world. So there you go.
How's it working with us, Maggie and John?
Oh,
Good
terrible.
or bad?
Rewarding.
Reward. There we go.
Dan knows how to answer it. Ellen, I'm just kidding.
No, it's
Never.
great. It's great.
Never.
Always
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. Way to put him on the spot there, John. But no, you guys have just both done such a phenomenal job, and we truly would not be here without you guys. And in our entire project management team. John was talking earlier about just where things started out when he started 12 years ago, and just to see where our department has grown into and the complex projects that we have. And none of you guys falter when it comes to figuring out complex solutions and things like that and pulling the right team members in. So it's definitely a huge testament to our department. So thank you both.
Having you guys on staff lowers my blood pressure, so it's I'm greatly appreciative of. So
That's true.
Your support does as well.
Yeah, John still raises my blood pressure, but
I raise my own as well. Yeah,
there you go.
I'm the problem.
Yeah.
I feel like I'll add on on a real note answer to your question. Like it's really cool to see the relationships that you all have brought clients into us. And really over the course of 5+ years I've been here, on and off projects with the same clients, and being able to maintain those relationships and see the same folks on that side over and over through repeat projects. It's cool to see and have built those relationships over the years here.
Absolutely. And I think, again, it goes back to comments that we made earlier about like I would think our bread and butter of our department is those relationships that we've built.
Mhm.
And a lot of the head of those relationships is you guys.
Yeah.
So, and is creating kind of that contact client relationship and building that trust. So it speaks volumes when clients are coming back and saying, we couldn't have done things without you guys and this and that. You're an extension of our own team. And that's a lot of the clients that you guys are on. So again, thank you both. All right. I got just one fun question to ask. So if you guys could add one outrageous feature to the Sitecore kind of product stack, like, something just off the wall, like, hey, there's fireworks on our homepage or something like that. Is there an outrageous feature you guys would want to add? Maybe something that would help your day-to-day kind of thing, or just, again, something off the wall that would be a cool Sitecore addition.
Figuring out how to use AI for content entry.
Love
Never
it.
again manual.
That's where my mind went.
Mhm.
Great answer.
Yep.
Yeah, spot on.
I don't think I can top that.
Automated project management, Dan. You make your life easier.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
We gotta keep our jobs.
that covers everything.
Yeah, I was
Shout
gonna
out.
say we
We
got
still got a key in the request. Or,
Right.
Yeah.
commands.
That's true, but automated content entry through AI would be huge because, even as we're talking through just like memories and things like that, I remember having to literally go through an entire media library for one of our clients and optimize every single image.
Oof.
I became best friends with the Tiny Ping website that has the panda that throws confetti
Tiny PNG,
after,
yeah.
after it
I've used
optimizes
that
an image.
too.
100%. So if we could figure out a way to have AI help us to do all of that, it'd be golden. So Sitecore, help us out here, please. Very cool. All right. Well, thank you guys both for joining us today. We're going to have in some other members from the team, but again, great job. Kudos to both of you. And we're going to keep rolling.
Thanks for having
Thanks,
us.
guys.
Thank
All right. We actually have a special guest on our podcast right now. Obviously, we were talking about bringing in our internal teams, but now we've got someone from Sitecore. So Patrick Moore, Regional Vice President of the West Division. So going to ask you a few questions. We won't put too much pressure on you to answer, anything too fun, but John, go ahead.
I can take it.
Yeah, Patrick, really appreciate you swinging in. Just by happenstance, we have majority of the Sitecore sales team from North America in our offices, so no better way to steal a few of you for a couple minutes. But Patrick, we've worked together for about 4 years. Give us your favorite American Eagle story.
Ooh.
Oh, my favorite American Eagle story.
If there is one, we can change it.
Yeah, no, it's actually, it's a small world,
Yeah,
right? I
yeah.
think one, you guys are obviously a great, wonderful partner to us, right? But I think honestly, my favorite story was the first year that I was in the business, and John, we got an opportunity to meet, and we were just talking about past lives and career and stuff like that, and talking about Adobe. And John's like, "Oh, hey, you were at Adobe for a while?" I'm like, "Yeah, I was at Adobe for 7.5 years before coming over to Sitecore." And he's like, oh, do you by chance know like Aaron Price? And I was like, and then it dawned on me. I'm like, Price. I'm like, yeah, dude, like that's your brother, right? And he's like, yeah, man, he's my brother. And so I worked with your brother for, for about 4 years at Adobe. And so that is my favorite just personal connection story, right? From American Eagle, which is funny to see, to see a small world.
It's like way too small. It's so funny. I'm obviously the better brother, obviously, with all the success we've had.
The verdict is out on that.
Right. But yeah, we'll give you a different question, Patrick. So, you've been at Sitecore for 4 years. What are you most excited about at Sitecore right now with your outlook?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think product, like, I've been in this space for 12 years, right? And I think from a product perspective, we have the best product that's out there on the market from a complete digital experience platform perspective. And I think the approach that we have to make it easy, nimble, and fit, within the ecosystem of what our customers, any essential technology that they're doing and what capabilities they need to bring in. I think the product is most exciting about Sitecore, but it's also fun to kind of to see the evolution, right? Over the 4 years that I've been here and kind of our go-to-market strategy and getting the opportunity to, I've worked in a lot of different like levels of our business. So I've had an opportunity to meet a lot of our customers in all kinds of different industries, all kinds of revenue segments. And it's been fun to see that. And then to see the vision of where we're going from an AI, from a trying to make the marketer's life easier and more nimble, is really exciting. So I'd say I'm most excited about obviously our product vision, but what comes along with that is the relationships and the people that you get to meet along the way. And that's been the funnest part. And I'm excited to see where we're going in the industry.
Yeah, I absolutely couldn't agree more. And you've done a phenomenal job at Sitecore, and we wish you many more years of success as well. I'm looking forward to partnering with you more and more.
Yeah, you guys too.
Yeah.
I can ask a fun one if you want.
That's a fun one. Yeah.
You want a fun one? All right, cool. So I'm gonna ask the fun question. Yeah. So Patrick, if Sitecore and AmericanEagle.com were a celebrity duo,
oh my God.
What's the comparison we're gonna make here?
I'm like the wrong person to ask.
Come on,
because I paid zero attention.
Yeah. We're gonna test him on his pop culture here. Folks.
I know, right?
Could be athletes too. Anyone famous.
Yeah. Are we Justin and Brittany? Like, hopefully not.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good one.
Like a power duo.
I feel like it's funny. I feel like American Eagle. It's like I can't think of the celebrity, but you guys embrace this, kind of like 1950s kind of vibe, right? Obviously from the Chicago perspective, you guys got a little bit of cool, but you also got like the business professional vibe to it.
Hopefully not too much mob in there.
Not a little bit of mob in there, right?
Just a
tiny bit, like
just a smidge of mob.
White collar crime primarily, right?
Yeah. Those are things we don't talk about. So.
Yeah,
right.
Love it.
And then Sitecore, I don't know, man. It's hard because I don't know celebrities, but I feel like Sitecore is also kind of this like we've been around the industry in a long time, but we're going more hip, more fresh. So
yeah. Blues Brothers, like that.
Yeah,
kind of
maybe kind of like a Blues Brothers vibe. I think so.
Like that. Yeah.
Maybe like Blues Brothers plus Ghostbusters. I don't know.
Love it. I think that's it. All right, send it. Yeah. Mark it down. That's what we are.
I just Googled celebrity duos. I got Shrek and Donkey, Barbie and Ken.
There you go.
I don't know. These are the least offensive ones too. So
jeez, we're gonna go with Blues Brothers.
Yeah, right.
We're gonna go with Blues Brothers for sure.
Yeah.
Wayne and Garth. All right, I'm done.
Yeah,
Blues Brothers.
Wayne and Garth. I kind of like that. All right, cool. Thanks, Patrick. We loved having you on.
Thanks, guys.
No, thanks, dude.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, right.
All right. So now we talked a little bit to the project management team, but we're going to move it over to our architect team. We have plenty of extremely smart, extremely capable members on our architect team. And as I mentioned before, this department's got over 100 team members on it. So we had to narrow it down to, a few people that could join our podcast today. But kind of kicking things over, I want to hear a little bit from you guys about just, who you guys are, how many years you've been with AmericanEagle.com. And what your role is here today, and maybe just like a little bit about where you guys started out. So Naeem, can you start us out a little bit for a little intro for yourself?
Hi, my name is Naeem Al. I started with American Eagle in 2016, so it's been a while.
Yeah.
Started as a senior Sitecore developer. I think the first version, it was 7.5 I worked on.
Okay.
And since then, we work on 8 and 9 10. Obviously now extended
Just
cloud.
keep counting it up.
Yep. Keep counting. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Susan, how about you?
Hi, I am Susan Harlow. I am the manager of the front end team for our Sitecore practice. I started American Eagle in 2018, although I've been working on Sitecore since 2013. The first version I touched was 7, but maybe 6.
Maybe 6. Maybe you dabbled in 6, like you started on 7, but touched 6 at
legacy
some point.
sites that were still active.
You know, the cobwebs, got to clear them out, things like that. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Very cool. Tim, how about you?
Tim Shanahan. I have been with American Eagle for 2.5 years. Sitecore architect. I started at American Eagle as a senior Sitecore dev, but I've been working with Sitecore since 2017, 2018. My first version was either 8.1 or 8.2, just doing some minor touch-ups of a current site. But my first full site build wasn't until 9.0, so didn't have any of the Sitecore 7 experience that these guys had.
Yeah, very cool. Fun. James, how about you?
Hey, I'm James Gregory. Started as a senior dev back in 2013, so go back quite a ways with Sitecore, and I'm a chief architect now with the Sitecore practice. And I think the oldest version I had was I came in during like the 6.7, 6.8 days, but we had to do an upgrade project from, I don't know, was it 5.1 or 5.4?
Whoa.
But I very clearly remember that it wouldn't run. like the Windows operating system and the dependencies weren't there. I needed an older version of an OS and everything. So that was a very difficult one to upgrade.
Sounds like a riveting moment. That's always fun.
But it was fun to see how much Sitecore changed just between 5 and 6.
Oh, yeah.
Some changes.
I bet.
What month did you start in 2013?
May.
That's right. You started a little bit before me. So we're closing up on our 12-year work anniversary. So
what are you guys going to do to celebrate?
we'll do something. We'll build.
Go out to dinner or something?
We'll do another project. I don't know.
Just do another project.
Celebrate with another project.
Yeah, right.
You know,
we'll
just-
close another project.
Yeah, just work during the company party like Dan had to
there
do,
you go.
So
Yeah.
that's always fun.
Original partners in crime. Yep.
Yes. I love that. I think it's actually a cool thing to note too. So, you know, Susan, Tim, you guys mentioned that, you know, when you started at AE, but you had worked on Sitecore previously. With Naeem and James, was Sitecore the first time you worked on Sitecore, was it at AmericanEagle.com or had you worked on it prior?
I had like 1 year experience with
Okay.
Sitecore. So I was certified before I joined American Eagle with Sitecore.
Nice.
Yeah, but my main
Yeah.
career was here in
No,
with
very
American
cool.
Eagle.
And James, how about you?
Yeah, I had barely any C# or .NET experience when I started, and I was
Whoa.
thrown right into being a senior consultant. So I had to learn a lot very quickly.
You would never know. We endearingly call James the wizard.
I'm
'cause,
shocked to learn that.
Yeah, that was a new one for
I was
Joe
able
too.
to fake it really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You played it off really well.
Yes.
Fooled me.
Yeah. There we go.
Well, he felt comfortable after 12 years finally telling you that.
Yeah, right.
Yes, exactly.
The deep, dark secrets we have, Tim.
Yeah. He didn't want to wait till their celebratory dinner
Yeah,
to
right.
let that out. He had to let the cat out of the bag now. So very fun.
No AI back then to learn it either. So
No.
Fortunately, the code test that we had to take was at home, so I was able to Google everything.
there you go.
Yeah. Very cool. No, that's awesome because I think it's, you know, we've got obviously a lot of years in Sitecore in the room here. So wanted to ask you guys just from a technical perspective, because you've worked on plenty of different things. We just talked about the earliest versions that you guys worked on. Any favorite Sitecore product or area of the platform that you guys worked on that you guys can, you know, highlight a little bit?
Yeah, for me, I think I like Sitecore CDP.
Yeah. Okay.
I enjoy working with that one. We started the first MVP with United Airlines,
Okay.
our good client.
Yeah.
And it was fun. And since then, I'm just hooked to this.
Yeah, you love the CDP, the personalized stuff. You've done a lot with a lot of our clients on it too.
Right.
So it's just kind of growing into that product. Very cool. Very cool. Anybody else have any favorite products that they've worked on over the years?
I can say that on the front end, I'm really enjoying the transition to XM Cloud because I think it's really allowed, you know, it's been overnight a change in what front end development is for Sitecore, going from non-headless to headless. And I think it's really, really allowing all of our front end developers to really spread their wings and work on the latest and most advanced new technologies in ways that we really haven't been able to before. So it's been fantastic for the team.
Yeah, and I just feel like even on the performance side, like you guys were always the ones that were like, but we could make this so much faster if we did this certain ways. So
absolutely. And from, you know, compared to the previous version, it is
right.
massive improvement. And yeah,
Yeah, you're touching on a great point because that was one thing I wanted to kind of even go over was just like where just front end development specifically has changed from early Sitecore to now is huge, I imagine.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, going back to the early days of Sitecore, I'd say, I mean, I started in with 6 or 7, going up to 10. It didn't really change at all from version to version because most front end development actually happened very much outside of Sitecore. So while we were following industry trends for front end, they didn't really tie into Sitecore. 10.2 came along with the introduction of SXA and all the page builder functions, and all of a sudden that was the first time that your front end developers really came inside of Sitecore. I mean, we could go through entire projects with barely logging into Sitecore, and now we're in there every day. And right there, that was again just a huge change to how we work, and I think that really made us feel more like Sitecore front end developers versus front end developers who are working on Sitecore.
Yeah.
And now we changed again with XM Cloud, but it's the same way where we're really far more into the meat and potatoes of it than we used to be, and it's really exciting.
And being from Chicago, we love meat and potatoes. So
absolutely.
yeah, no, that's awesome because I think it, to your point, kind of empowers the team that it's again the front end developers are a part of these big Sitecore projects and things like that, and not just kind of in a little bit of a silo and things like that too. So no,
Absolutely.
that's awesome. Any other favorite products?
Staying on the XM Cloud side, I actually really like the page builder that they have now. Just going from previous versions where you were using Experience Editor, you'd always hear complaints from clients on, all right, it just keeps spinning. But now within XM Cloud and the page builder, like everything is just blazing fast. There's no need to save, and it's just right there for the clients. And I think everybody's just kind of very happy where it's going and into the future with it.
Definitely. And you and I actually spoke at Sitecore Symposium last year where we showed one of our clients, and kind of highlighting through all the different things with their pages editor. And I think that spoke to a lot of clients that were even at that session just to kind of see like the difference between the content experience in some of the older Sitecore platform to what it is now with XM Cloud and Pages. So I think that's a great point. And, we're going to endearingly call you Teacher Tim because you did such a good job in terms of just training our clients and stuff too when it came to my content migration. So very exciting.
And each phase through, the different iterations of Sitecore from the web forms pages, MVC now to headless, each time it becomes more efficient for the development teams and jobs get easier and more smooth. And like one of the things I didn't realize at first moving to headless that just really impacted me is not having to deal with all the infrastructure allows you to start a project and focus on all the business requirements without having to detract and worry about standing everything up and getting all the infrastructure teams aligned. There's just less friction to get it up and running right away.
Yeah, which we love to hear, right? It's streamlining things. And again, focusing heavily on the business requirement side is the crux of the project, right? So it makes things go a lot smoother. So we love to hear that. How about any favorite kind of project account, just like memories or highlights from, you guys have all been here for many years. Do you guys have any moments that stand out of like, any aha moment or any sort of like hurdle that maybe you got across, or maybe it was a trip, like a client trip or something like that? Anything in terms of just a highlight or memory from your years in our Sitecore department?
I really like the trip out to Westfield when we were going out there to do more of the hands-on training with them. We had been doing stuff just virtually, showing them like all the page builder stuff we did for them, but actually seeing them do it in front of me and them calling me over and saying, oh, what if we could do something different with this, like us being able to go and update it really quick and let them see it. I thought that was really cool. Just being able to see like the client's satisfaction right in front of my face.
Absolutely. And I think too, it's rewarding to see some of the stuff come to fruition on all of the virtual trainings and stuff that you guys did ahead of time led up to that moment. And then to your point, yes, it's always nice when you kind of get to put, a face to a name and things like that. Cause I think at that point, I don't think you had met any of them in person.
No.
I think that was the first time. So, that's very cool.
I think if I'm going to bring up just, or at least a favorite memory, or at least a project, something that we were really proud of on the front end, I'm actually thinking about Sysmex right now. And, we had to do a lot of different things on that. I mean, that one was mostly 10.2 SXA, but we had to build a product configurator for them. And I would say that was one of the biggest front end challenges we've had in a long time, because it's something that actually would have been fantastic on XM Cloud, but it was a little bit too early for that.
Right.
And so having to take, move so much data around and manage so much state and doing it all just in JavaScript, but constantly going back and forth between Sitecore and the front end. And it may not be the flashiest looking thing in the end, but I can say as a front end team, when that thing was done, we were so proud of it.
Yeah, as you should be. It's a
Mhm.
very slick tool. It's very cool. And it's one of those things
Mhm.
that, to your point, it's kind of nice when it's a challenge,
Yeah.
because it makes it more rewarding when you get to the finish line.
Absolutely.
So no, that's awesome.
It's one of those projects you'll never forget.
Yeah,
No
there you
matter
go.
what. Yep. You'll always
It'll
remember that one. Yep.
Yep, it'll stick in your head forever.
One of the projects I worked on, we did some integration with the AI systems to translate, to auto translate from English to any language they wanted. They have like 100 plus language in their system. So this was a good and the new experience
Yeah.
to try the first time.
Definitely.
And it was fun to work with.
For sure. Again, goes back to it's a challenge that you faced head on, getting to the end of it, figuring it out, kind of that nice aha moment and
Right.
things like that. And language translation is something that we see more and more and more. And especially, 100 plus languages, that's a lot. You can't manually translate all of that. So you figuring out a way to do it through AI or something like that.
Exactly.
Is
It saves a lot of time on the
Yeah.
authors.
definitely.
And it's really powerful with the AI systems and very accurate most of the time.
Very cool. Awesome. James, you've been here for 12 years. There's got to be a favorite memory or highlight.
A lot of projects. A lot of pet projects.
Yeah. They're probably all of your favorites. Of course, all of your memories are your favorites. But if you had just, it doesn't have to be an exact favorite, but any cool memory that you can think of just from your 12 years of experience here.
It's not a cool memory, but probably the project I spent the most time with is probably the content migration tool.
Yes.
Probably over, I don't know, half a dozen projects year after year. Kind of took the best of all of our content migration scripts and put them together into a reusable platform. So that's got a lot of leverage, and we're able to use it on some really complex migration projects. And it was nice to make it easy and
Yeah.
repeatable.
I remember when you created SXA for a healthcare client on the West Coast before SXA even existed.
Yep.
So
Oh, yeah.
that was an impressive feat.
Yep. Reusable
Again,
design.
James the Wizard.
Mm-hmm.
No, and that's great to your point about the content migration accelerator, because content migration is always a huge thing in so many projects. And it honestly is always kind of a sticking point in most of our bigger redesigns and things like that too, because it's a lot for a client to take on. So any area that we can look to accelerate that is huge. And it's nice that, you're able to take from what we've learned over the years and kind of pull that in. So very cool. All right. So on to just one kind of fun question. What would you guys say is the best thing about working with Sitecore? Just like working on the product. Is there anything that you guys can think of to say, this is just my favorite part about working with this kind of tech stack?
I don't know about just tech stack, but just working with Sitecore in general,
Yeah.
they take feedback very seriously. So anytime we were going through our XM Cloud site and working with Pages Builder, we would always bring up to them that, it'd be nice if Page Builder did this or did that. And throughout the project, we would just magically see those things next time we were in there working on it. So I think them really hearing their partners and how they want their product to go is just great to have from Sitecore.
Absolutely. And knowing that they're receptive to that feedback, it really just makes it feel like a community aspect to make sure that, we're looking to improve your product. We're going to give feedback and we want to, it's nice to kind of see that come to fruition. So very cool.
Maybe for me, the way they do up to speed with the updates and you adopt the new technologies. When I first worked with Sitecore, it was web forms. Then we moved to MVC. Then we moved now recently to the headless architecture. And we are now using Next.js and all the new stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of forcing you to be up to date with the recent technology, and that's good.
Yeah, it keeps you learning. It keeps you on your toes, right? Again, goes back to what we were just saying many times about when you come across a challenge, you got to adapt to it, and it makes things, I feel like, exciting. They don't get stagnant. There's always new things to learn and new things to grow on. So.
Right.
I would say from the front end perspective, one thing I particularly love about working on Sitecore is how customizable everything is designed to be. And so as a result, I feel like there's no guardrails on the front end. And I mean that in the best way possible. That, a designer can show us something and ask us, can we build that? And the answer is 99.9% of the time, the answer is yes, we can do that. ignoring any constraints on time or budget.
Right. Exactly. No, that's a very fair point. That's why we always bring you guys in to actually review it, because the answer we get from both front end and back end is we can technically do anything that we want to, which is great. But then, it's a feasibility standpoint. It's like, okay, we can do this, but how long would it take? What does it actually mean on the budget impact? Because that's what we have to balance it out with too.
But I appreciate that the possibilities are practically limitless.
Yeah, the art of the possible, right? Love it. All right, cool. So thank you guys honestly for joining. I think, one of the things John and I continuously talked about early on in this podcast was just how much we've seen our department grow over the years, and all the cool projects that we've gotten to do and things like that. And, we had the PM team in here earlier, and we're talking to them about, just how they lead the charge, but the architects really also are helping lead the charge and stuff too. You guys are solutioning on the fly, making sure that things are meeting the business requirements and things like that. And, I've said it before, but I'll say it a million times, we've got the best in the game. And it's one of those things that, especially on our architect team, I feel like we've never been stronger. So thank you guys for everything that you've put into this department, because it's really helped us grow.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Thanks, Maggie.
All right. So we've had a mix of everything in here today. We've had, we talked through things with John, the VP of our practice. Then we talked to our project management team. We just had some of our architects in here. Now I want to talk to our live site team, because again, we talk about it often on this podcast that things don't end when sites go live. When they launch, there's stuff to do after the fact. And that's where these two come in and have really kind of taken things off with our live site department. So wanted to ask you guys a little bit about, just tell us your name, your role, maybe your journey and how long you've been with AmericanEagle.com. So Casey, we can start with you.
Sure. Casey Stanitz, Senior Sitecore Account Manager. In December, it'll be 10 years with American Eagle. It's been a ride. I feel like I've been a project manager. I started as an assistant project manager underneath John Price. So I've kind of run the gamut of roles in here. I feel like I'm very settled in with our live site team. We're doing tremendous work, and I'm very happy and excited for what's to come.
Yeah, you were a business analyst at one point. You've kind of done every role at this point.
Yeah. I mean, you won't let me be a Fed like I truly want
No,
to.
yeah, you've definitely asked, and that's probably one area we'll never let you.
Come on, Nick, work your magic.
Right, very good, very good. Matt, how about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Matthew Stacy. I'm a senior Sitecore developer. I think November will be 5 years for me at American Eagle.
Wow.
I started as an intern. My grandpa actually has a website through the company.
Oh,
I
very
think one of the
cool.
longest. It's like 24 years or something.
Wow.
It's handy foil.
Yeah.
So he actually got me an internship.
Nice.
So I kind of started as an intern. They threw me, through a bunch of trainings and stuff, and they said, "Hey, we're going to try out in this thing called Sitecore." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever, sounds good." And
Sounds great.
yeah, and then I started doing the training, and I was like, "Oh man, this is interesting." And
Yeah.
it's kind of just, ever since then. Sitecore.
Yeah, you've evolved in that. It's funny too that you mentioned that, because Ellen started as an intern. I didn't actually start as an intern, but I was listed as a miscellaneous intern when I started. Like I said, I'm never going to let John live that one down. I'm like, wait, what? But it's cool to see the kind of the growth and stuff like that, and with people like starting out kind of in that area. So that's very cool. Matt, what was the earliest version of Sitecore that you worked on? You said you had to go through a bunch of different trainings and things like that, but
Yeah, actually, I started on a site that was Sitecore 9.3.
Okay.
So not even super long ago.
Yeah.
Probably the oldest one I've worked with is like 8.2.
Nice.
So kind of a newbie in all regards, I would say. But
No, you're good.
But yeah,
It's early.
it's been fun watching everything develop though, and seeing the technology advance and whatnot, especially from when I first started working. So
Yeah, definitely. Wanted to ask you guys a little bit about maybe like a favorite highlight or memory over the course of your years here. I mean, you're coming up on 5 years, you're coming up on 10 years, like anything that you guys can think of, like whether it was a challenge that you faced that you kind of overcame, or maybe a trip memory or something like that. Casey, I'll start with you.
Yeah. There's two big projects that kind of come up in my mind when thinking about the last 10 years. And one is very early on with John and Samaritan Health. We got to go out to Corvallis, Oregon, see a different part of the country that I've never seen, experience a lot of different things. And that was kind of my first intro to seeing something that was like start to finish. We started building it, we launched it, and then we did a lot of support and maintenance for them over the years. So that was extremely like nice to have that
early memory of like something from start to finish.
Right.
And then another kind of more recent memory is Nordson.
Yeah.
And I love that project because of the team that we had on it. Me and you, we worked on that together with Alex, with all of our other developers and team. And it was just such a great experience because the client was also awesome.
Yep.
Shout out to Jerry and Scott.
Shout out Scott and Jerry. We've had them on this podcast before.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have to get them back.
Yeah. No, they were just an extremely great client to work with.
Yeah.
So,
and it's nice too, to your point, like with both of those examples, right? It's the projects that are end to end. Not everything that we do is, some of it is just more of like popping in during certain parts of development, or maybe it's not even development and we're just helping from a strategic perspective or a design and creative element. But those projects being end to end, sometimes those are the ones that can be the most rewarding because you're really seeing it from the ground up.
Yep.
And then also too, I think, the face-to-face, the kind of building of those client relationships and things like that, like that's what those trips really help with and things like that. So no, those are two great memories. How about yourself, Matt? Anything that you can think of in terms of a specific, again, even it could even be just like a challenge or something, or maybe it was a cool thing that you worked on or something like that?
Yeah, actually, one of my most recent things I did was the IndyCar.com redesign.
Ooh.
Which I know was first of all cool just because like
it's
I
IndyCar.
recognize it. Yeah, everything else has been healthcare, so
Right.
pretty much.
Yeah.
So it was super cool that I like recognized it and the project was fun to work on and everything, and I had a good time doing it.
Nice.
And afterwards I was like, I'm gonna go check and see if they've done any like ads for like this redesign or anything. And I, typed into Google like IndyCar redesign, and one of the first links that popped up was actually a Reddit thread. For people on the IndyCar subreddit, which I'm on Reddit sometimes.
I love
and
Reddit.
so,
For
so I was like, oh, well, let me go click on it. And it was like this bunch of positive feedback from all these random people. And I was like,
oh, that's so cool.
I know. I was like, this is the first time I've seen like actual feedback from, people that I don't just say like, hey, like check out my website and show them on my phone.
Exactly. Like a LinkedIn post.
Yeah, right. So that was super cool. And then even related to that, when I told my fiance that I was going to work on the IndyCar redesign, she was doing my Christmas shopping and she was out and she saw a hoodie and was like, I'm going to buy this for him. And so
that's thoughtful.
Yeah. And so like I'm opening up my Christmas gifts and she's like smiling and I open it up and it was a NASCAR hoodie. And I was like,
close.
It's not quite the same.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the thought was there for sure.
The thought was, it was really sweet. But if any of my IndyCar people that I worked with are listening, I'll buy a IndyCar hoodie, I promise.
Yeah, there you
like
go.
even it out.
Yeah, I can't wear the NASCAR thing around IndyCar, but no, that's awesome. And I think too, just going back to, it's fun. We get to work on all these different clients. Like you said, a lot of the stuff you work on is healthcare, but then getting to kind of look at different verticals and things like that too. That's what keeps things exciting because, we're not just agnostic to one platform vertical kind of thing like that. We get to work on a bunch of different clients and things too, which is very, very fun. So no, those are great memories. All right. One maybe final kind of wrap up question. Who would survive longer in a zombie apocalypse? AmericanEagle.com or Sitecore? Or if you could pick somebody that you'd want to be paired with during a zombie apocalypse from our department, who would you think?
Honestly, I'm torn between you and John. I would
come
say,
on. It's always got to be that.
I know. And that's what it always comes down to every day. But no, honestly, I think between the two of you, there's just so much skill, precision, and just attention to detail where I think you guys could really get through any type of situation.
We could kill a zombie.
Yes. And that's where maybe John, but I think.
Oh, wow.
But Maggie, like just the way you carry yourself is just, I mean, you carry us through this department. You and John have done tremendous things over the years. And I mean, I'm only excited to see what's coming.
Thanks, Case. That means a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I want to thank both of you guys because, again, it's one of those areas that I feel like we talk these kind of end-to-end projects and things, but, it really is true that it's when a site goes live, we have to make sure that we're maintaining it, that we're coming to them with different kind of solutions, or, hey, have you guys thought about doing this? Or, maybe like we're seeing this on your site and we could optimize it this way. And you guys really kind of take the charge with that. Casey just kind of coming up with different plans and things like that. And then Matt, you're there to help execute it. So it's really a strong feature in our department. And we thank both of you guys for just, again, what we've seen grow in this department. And all of the working pieces, whether it's the PM team or the architects or the developers or the live site team, it all coincides with each other to make us as strong as we are. So truly, thank you both.
Yeah, of course.
Anytime.
All right. Well, this has been such a great episode. I feel like we've learned so much just kind of looking back at our journey from where this department started to now, and then where this podcast started to now. And I think one of the things I want to wrap up with is, John, what do you think is next for the podcast? I mean, we've done a lot on here, but it's going to keep growing. Any next big plans for the podcast?
Yeah, we're always trying to do something fun and innovative. So, you've done a good job bringing in customers. I did a little bit of a tour of the Sitecore product owners. We just had Dave O'Flanagan on not too long ago as well. One idea we have is we might revisit some of the latest product updates as kind of Sitecore has evolved as a composable DXP. There's probably definitely a few Sitecore executives would love some of their AI folks in on the podcast. And then also bring in some additional customers with some latest XM Cloud projects that we've launched, lessons learned, things along those lines. As a lead up to Symposium. So those are probably some things I had in mind. How about you, Maggie? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think it's just we have so many things that are growing in this department from a project perspective. We've done so many great launches as of recently. So it's really just more so of bringing our own project teams to talk about lessons learned from those projects, some highlights that we can go through, as well as then, to your point, bringing on more customers and things like that. We've heard resounding feedback from people on the client side of just being an extension to their team. And I really think that's such a huge testament to our department and the project teams and how they treat all of these engagements, that it's really not just, a vendor-client relationship, but it's truly a partnership. And it's something that I feel like is, top tier in terms of what we want out of our project team. So I want to definitely go through and highlight more of that in 2025 with, the projects and the, client relationships that we've built. Sitecore team, thank you guys for joining us at the water cooler today. I look forward to collaborating with you guys in the future, and we hope to have you back on the water cooler again soon. And thank you for everybody that tuned in to this 50 episode special. Again, we've seen this department grow so much over the years, and our partnership with Sitecore grow so much over the years, and we're just excited to see what is going to come of it. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to the Sitecore Water Cooler Podcast. Find out more information about AmericanEagle.com's Sitecore services and today's topic in the description below. This episode is brought to you by AmericanEagle.com Studios. I'm your host, Maggie Burke, and special thanks to our executive producers, Renee Nelson, Julia Klepich, and Brian Winger.